We're back for our best player props for the wild card round here with the NFL playoffs. This is actually our final best player props video of the year, as we are going to be combining the best player props with the overall best bets next week, just because we're not going to have as many games. So again, next week, likely on Friday, our best player props and best bets will be combined into just one 5 best bets video. So make sure to join us next week for that. Again, this is the final, just only player props video of the year. Now, again, we've got 6 games this weekend for wild card weekend. We're going to go over every single one except for one, but of course, we've already covered every single game in our predictions video and our best bets video, which was posted earlier today. So go make sure to check out both those. Those both will be linked in the description down below. But again, today specifically, just our 5 player props for this weekend's games. Also on the channel, daily NBA and daily college basketball best bets. On Greedo Plays MMA, we're back. We posted our predictions for who's going to be the champions in the UFC at the end of 2026. Full video breakdown in every single weight class. So go check that out over on the MMA channel while we wait currently on this long break without UFC. And now let's get on to the first of our 5 best bets, or 5 best player props for wild card weekend. Okay. Kicking things off with our first game, Panthers versus Rams. Tetero McMillan over 55.5 receiving yards. The way I look at this game for Carolina, if they're going to have any bit of a chance, they need Tetero to be absolutely massive in the pass catching game. Obviously, that goes without saying. He's the number 1 receiver for the Carolina Panthers. They used the 8th overall pick on the guy. This is a guy in Tetero McMillan who just broke 1,000 yards last week against Tampa, and against the Buccaneers, Tetero had 4 catches for 85 yards, and I understand that's against a super weak Buccaneers secondary, and there were some calls that did go against Carolina, which were, unfortunate, we can say, but it all worked out for Carolina. They still made the postseason with a great 8-9 record, and here they are against the Rams. Now, if you've watched our predictions video, if you watched the best bets video, I think the Panthers have a fighting chance today. I don't think they're going to win the game outright, but I think there is an opportunity for Carolina to potentially cover the spread, and I think they likely will do so. Again, if they are going to remain competitive, and if they are going to cover the spread that we have of 10.5 points, we need Tetero to have a massive day. And McMillan was held to only 1 catch in the first Rams-Panthers matchup. I have to think that is going to be a major key for the Panthers in the second matchup against the Rams. And I know they won the first game with Tet only having 1 catch for 43 yards. Obviously, it was a touchdown in 4th and 2. But I believe McMillan is going to be much more involved in the offensive game plan because, again, it goes beyond just having 1 catch against the Rams the first time out in Carolina. He had 2 targets. He had 2 targets and 1 catch for 43 yards, and again, that was the touchdown. Bryce Young, again, this is number 1 guy, and we'll see how much Carolina is willing to throw the football, but there is a potential that this team is losing for quite a bit, and they need to find ways to get back in the football game, and I just want the Panthers to play this game, I want them to play this game with some damn fire, unlike how they usually play for 3 quarters and they randomly just turn it up in the 4th every single game. I need this team to come out firing early. I would expect, honestly, Canales to take some shots early in this football game. I mean, no one's expecting them to win. They are the biggest underdog. They're the biggest home underdogs in NFL playoff history, so I have to think this team's going to try to punch the Rams in the mouth early. They know they can beat this team. There's going to be some confidence going in with the Panthers. They have this game at home. I mean, say what you want about the Cam Newton thing before the game, but there is, this crowd is going to be going, and what way to keep them involved in the game more than get the ball to Tetero McMillan early, take some shots, and work the ball downfield. Now, again, McMillan is a mixed bag every single week in terms of receiving yards, and I got to say, that's really dependent on Bryce Young. You look at the 2 Buccaneers games, I mean, Tet with 4 catches, 6 targets, and 85 yards last week in Tampa. The Week 16 game that they played in Carolina, McMillan had 6 catches on 10 targets for 73 yards, and then you look at the Seattle game wedged in between. And obviously, that was a game where Bryce Young had 65 passing yards. I mean, that's atrocious, I understand. And you obviously can't win playoff games like that. But Tet, obviously, with Bryce Young only have 60 yards, McMillan had 1 catch on 4 targets for 5 yards. So one of the biggest factors in this game, again, is just Bryce Young. We know the Panthers are going to run the football. We know they have Rico Dowdle. We know they have Chuba Hubbard. That is going to be part of the game plan. But at the same time, too, you can't win football games if you can't throw the ball. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on Bryce Young against the Rams secondary, which I believe is beatable. I mean, we've seen them dusted before this season. I'm not saying it's a bad defense, but it is a beatable defense, and it's a defense that Bryce Young has already beaten once so far this year. Although McMillan didn't have the best first game against Los Angeles earlier this year at home. Bryce Young played fairly well. He only completed 15 passes, but he went 15 for 20 for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns, and obviously had the 2 big touchdowns, the 33-yarder on fourth and short to Jalen Coker, and the 43-yarder on fourth and short to Teteroa McMillan. So we just need Bryce Young to show up, and I think Tet is going to go over his yards in his and Bryce Young's first ever playoff game. Give me Teteroa McMillan over 55.5 receiving yards at home in Carolina against the Rams. On now to our second player prop of the video. We move on to Jacksonville, Florida, and Duval County. I'm skipping the Bears and Packers. That's the one game I'm going to skip because I believe, Bears-Packers can be unpredictable. I'm taking the Bears to win the game. I think they should get it, but I just don't know how they're going to win it. I mean, are we going to get Caleb Williams firing from the jump, or are we going to see another cardiac Bears moment, something that I'm a little bit concerned with Carolina, because that's a team like Chicago that just doesn't turn it up at times until the fourth quarter, until they really need it. So I'm staying away from Bears-Packers. I could have gone under on Jordan Love, but I don't know. The fadeaway pass I'm a little concerned about. Regardless, let's move on to our next game over in Duval County, Jaguars versus Bills. I've been hammering it all week long, and hopefully this comes to be. I believe the Jaguars are beating the Bills. I've said for a while I think this team is going to win the AFC. I've now said they're going to win the Super Bowl. I've been saying this for quite a bit, but I firmly believe it. I don't think there's a better team currently in the NFL. If you look at the way Trevor Lawrence is playing, you look at the weapons that they have, the way Travis Etienne's running the football, Liam Cohen's offense is playing well, and defensively too, one of the best run defenses in the NFL, secondary is solid, and oh, by the way, they're doing all this without the number 2 overall pick in the draft and last year's Heisman Trophy winner, obviously, Travis Hunter. So regardless of all that, though, we need Trevor Lawrence this week to go over 235.5 passing yards, and I believe he should do exactly that. Trevor Lawrence has been smashing this line in pretty much every single game he's played as of late. This Jaguars run recently has been absurd, and in the last 5 games, Lawrence is 5 for 5 on this line. We go back to the Indianapolis Colts game, the first one. Lawrence only 17 completions and 30 attempts for 244 yards. Then the Jets game, maybe one of the greatest games Lawrence has played in his career. How about 330 yards and 5 touchdowns and, 6 total touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown for Lawrence. But again, 330 yards. Then against the best defense in the NFL, or one of the best defenses in the NFL, definitely one of the best secondaries in the sport, the Denver Broncos. Lawrence 23 for 36 passing for 279 yards and 4 total touchdowns. Against the Colts back in Indy, 263 yards. Not a great game for Lawrence, but does his thing. And then against the Titans, 22 for 30 passing for 255 yards. He gets subbed out early in the second half and in the third quarter in that football game. What Trevor Lawrence has been doing has been remarkable, and man, they're playing the Bills. I mean, am I the only one that thinks the Bills are completely fraudulent right now? Don't get me wrong. If the Bills beat the Jaguars, I think they might win the AFC. I think they probably will win the AFC. I look at the rest of the field, and the AFC is weak this season. Okay, I'm not denying that. The AFC is incredibly weak. I like the Broncos. I like that defense. Am I sold on them being the best chance the AFC, or am I sold on that team having the best chance of getting out of the AFC? No, okay? I mean, I think it's Jacksonville. If Buffalo wins this week, I'd likely favor Buffalo in a probable matchup next week against the Denver Broncos, unless the Chargers have something to say about that, which they may. Regardless of all that, though, I think the Bills right now, against Jacksonville specifically, I don't think they can win. Again, if they win this game, we'll see. I would probably take them to probably go to the Super Bowl just because of Josh Allen, and that's really the only reason why, and the run game with James Cook. But the secondary for Buffalo and the defense for Buffalo, I cannot trust, and that's where I think Trevor Lawrence is going to eat them alive. I really think, that Jaguars offense, what they've been building with the run game, you're sending Lawrence out. Lawrence is making incredible throws off his back foot on the run. I mean, off the back shoulder. I mean, what Lawrence is doing has been crazy. And I don't think it's really being talked about. I mean, some of these throws that he's making, and I get it, they're not great defenses he's been playing, but he's been doing this really the entire second half of the year, and it's not being talked about because this is the Jaguars, because, Trevor Lawrence, he was, people thought Trevor Lawrence was a bust, and now look at him play right now. Watching this Bills defense, they get beat up every single week. I know recently it's been a little bit different, but look at the 3 offenses that are coming off of playing. They played the Browns, and I love Shedeur Sanders. I like, Sanders quite a bit. I hope nothing but the best for the Browns next year. I hope Shedeur is their starter and not Deshaun Watson. But the Browns' offense has never been great, especially, again, with Kevin Stefanski, being the guy at the helm. Obviously, the Browns are never going to go anywhere this year. Good luck, Giants, if they end up hiring I don't know why they do it, but if they end up hiring Stefanski as their coach. And then the Bills play the Eagles. Well, expectedly, Philadelphia does nothing. Hot first half for Philly, and in the second half, they massively cool off like they do every single game. Hell, Jalen Hurts doesn't complete a pass in the second half, but again, the Jaguars' offense is nothing like what Philadelphia does offensively, and obviously the Bills last week, they play their backups against the Jets starters, and obviously the backups in the Bills beat the Jets' first-string guys, or first-team guys, 35-8. Because that's the New York Jets, and they have absolutely zero hope going forward. Again, though, the Jaguars are like none of these teams. Jacksonville's going to push the ball downfield all game long. They're at home. Again, weather is not a concern. It's going to be hot and humid in Jacksonville on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. I got to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the football game, and in turn, I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to go over his passing yards as well. Give me T-Law over 235.5 passing yards, a line that he has hit in each of the last 5 weeks. I think it's pretty automatic. Give me Trevor Lawrence, who should be getting MVP votes, to go over his passing yards. Next up, we move on to the one game we haven't talked about much so far on Wild Card Weekend, just because I didn't have it on the best bets. I still think, I'll say this, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win by more than 4.5, but we're going to be looking at Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, we're going under 63.5 rushing yards. I don't think he's going to have much room to work with against this Philly defense. And I'm really concerned about the 49ers O-line going into this game. I understand they're getting healthier. I understand that. You're going on the road. You're going to Philly. You're playing in the cold. And yeah, you would think you'd have to run the football quite a bit. But man, I mean, I really think the Niners are going to revert back to what they were earlier in the year with McCaffrey. And that's McCaffrey getting stonewalled after 2 yards. And I know, again, he's had his fair share of great games, but if you remember at the beginning of the season, it was, 60 yards, 50 yards, 50 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards for McCaffrey, and it wasn't until that Falcons game where CMC really broke through and went over 100 yards. And again, the model of consistency in the NFL, I mean, you play, 17 games, and to reach 1,000 yards, you need to run for 58 per game. Right. And that's why, again, the bar has moved in terms of, 1,000 yards. I mean, that's great. But again, you need average 58 yards per game to reach that. And I'm not saying McCaffrey's 1,200 rushing yard season isn't incredible. It is, considering, again, the O-line and the injuries coming off of. Hell, he was the 8th leading rusher in the NFL this season. All I'm saying is there's still been games this season where McCaffrey has not gone anywhere. And the biggest example of that is last week against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I know the Seattle run defense is better than any in the league other than potentially Jacksonville. I think you'd probably have to still put Seattle in first. The Philly run defense, though, is still very good, too. And this is a Philly defense that is at home and that is continuing to gain confidence as the season goes on. They're playing Philadelphia Eagles football again. And that's, again, beyond just what they do offensively and moving the football with Saquon Barkley. I'm sure we're going to see a bunch of tush pushing today or on Sunday as well. But I'm really concerned with the Niners in this game. I think they're going to have to really rely on the arm of Brock Purdy, which can get you places. But as we saw last week against Seattle, against a good defense, the Niners are going to fold. And by the way, that was in Santa Clara. Now they're going cross-country to the East Coast to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I don't entirely know how that offense is going to fare. So McCaffrey last week against the Seattle Seahawks, 8 carries for 23 yards. That's it. And it's not like the team was trailing by that much. They were in the game for the most part. Their biggest deficit, was the final score when they were down by 10. And obviously McCaffrey dropped that, dropped that reception that could have made the game a 3-point game late, and he dropped it, and obviously it turned into an interception. But that's neither here or there. That obviously has nothing to do with running the football. But you saw the Niners go down, and you saw them continue to throw the ball, because they couldn't go anywhere on the ground. McCaffrey, again, was getting stonewalled every single carry that he had. And I understand that 2 weeks prior to that, he was great against the Colts. 21 carries for 117 yards, 23 carries for 140 yards against the Chicago Bears. That's what we're used to out of Christian McCaffrey. But again, this O-line against this Eagles front seven, and just, I hate it, man. I absolutely hate it for the San Francisco 49ers. And again, they're getting healthier. I understand. The overall offense is getting healthier too. We'll see. I mean, I believe Ricky Pearsall and Trent Williams are going to play, but hell, they're both questionable right now. The latest report on Thursday is that, Pearsall didn't practice on Thursday. I don't think he's going to play. And then we'll see about Trent Williams. Obviously, Williams affects this equation with McCaffrey a lot more than Ricky Pearsall does, but Trent Williams currently questionable with that hamstring injury. He was limited in practice on Thursday. We shall see how he fares in Philadelphia if he plays. I don't like the matchup, man. I don't like it at all. I really think the Niners are going to get stuck throwing the football in this game. And this is the one draw they did not want. And that's why winning that Seahawks game was so important, because that wasn't the difference between going from 1 to 5. If you were in the 5, okay, well, you go to Carolina. Sure, a difficult game on the road, but not that difficult. You're not playing up in Philly. And the Niners lose that game to Seattle, and now here they are. They're going to Philadelphia in the first round. I was saying I thought this team was going to go to the Super Bowl, and if they were the 1 seed, I'd still be saying that. If they had beaten Seattle, I would still be coming on here every single day and telling you, yes, the Niners are the best team in the NFC. They're going to go to the Super Bowl, and they'll get the Super Bowl at home, likely against the Jaguars. But they lose that game to Seattle, and that's a massive L, because now look at them. You don't even get to go to Carolina. You got to go to Philly now, who are still the reigning champions. I understand they have not looked great this season, but the playoffs are here. I got to think that team's going to be motivated again, I would hope. I think everything's straight with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and I just don't see a pathway to victory for the 49ers. And again, their pathway to victory goes through McCaffrey and what they can do on the ground. I just don't see it. I'm going to go with the under for Christian McCaffrey. That's not to say he's not going to be, I think he's going to be a massive part of the pass game, because he always is. That's where McCaffrey arguably is better. I think, again, or on total yards, I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be involved. But with rushing purely, I don't think he breaks 64. So we're going to go under 63.5 rushing yards for Christian McCaffrey in Philadelphia. Expect him to be used a lot as a pass catcher like he always is. But in terms of just purely rushing the football, I got to go with the under for CMC on the road in Pennsylvania, obviously Philly. On now to our fourth player prop of the video. Let's go to Sunday Night Football, Foxborough, Massachusetts, Gillette Stadium. The Los Angeles Chargers go on the road to take on the Patriots. I'm going to go pure rushing yards on Justin Herbert this week. Give me over 28.5. Just not a lot. Honestly, it's just not that many yards. When we see Herbert take off with a football, he usually gets these yards. Three of the last 4 games for Herbert, obviously did not get to play the Denver Broncos game. If you remember last week, and if you watched our best player props video last week, we took Trey Lance's over on rushing yards, and he easily cleared it. I think we needed like 30? I think it might have been the same exact line. We needed 29, and Trey Lance went out there and got 60 rushing yards. So Chargers, quarterbacks usually have to run for their lives. Justin Herbert back starting, obviously, this week because they got him a week off last week playing Trey Lance instead. But you look at 3 of the last 4 games for Justin Herbert, he has taken off quite a bit with the football. We go back to that Monday night game at home against the Eagles. 10 carries for 66 yards for Herbert. And again, let's not forget, he's got a broken hand. It's his non-throwing hand, but he's doing this with a broken hand, and he's still running the football and forced to run the football because his O-line sucks. But against the Eagles, good defense, Herbert goes 10 carries for 66 yards, big time. Game after that against Kansas City, doesn't really get the opportunity, only 2 carries for 0 yards. But then we go to the Dallas game, 8 carries for 42 yards on the road. And then against that really good Houston defense, again, he's doing this against great defenses, which it goes either way because, again, they're pressuring him more than other defenses would, and the O-line for the Chargers suck. But that's neither here or there. Against Houston on that Saturday game, 6 carries for 37 yards for Justin Herbert. Now they're taking on the Patriots, and I've been hammering this point this entire week. We don't really know how good the Patriots are. Yes, again, on paper, they're great. Their record in the regular season was phenomenal. Drake May should win the MVP, but they're likely still going to give it to Matthew Stafford. But there's a reason the Patriots finished 14-3. The point I will keep hammering in, though, is how good truly are they? It's one thing to go 14-3 in the regular season. It's another thing to actually beat playoff teams, and it's another thing to actually win in the playoffs in January. Not saying the Chargers have done that. Okay, I know Justin Herbert has as many playoff wins as Drake May has, and this is Drake May's first ever postseason game. I completely get it. I just think, again, in a playoff environment, there's a lot of pressure on the Patriots, and I'd argue there's not much pressure on the Chargers. The Chargers are the 7 seed. This is a team that I think is all right, but they really are a couple more years away because they really need to bolster up that O-line a little bit more and maybe sign a veteran wide receiver to pair alongside Justin Herbert. I don't know. Get a guy like Devontae Adams, who they could have gotten last year, but he went to the Rams instead. Something like that. They need to trade for an elite receiver. Shout out to Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Keenan Allen, but that's not cutting it. And Oronde Gadsden, they need to actually get Herbert some damn weapons out there. But it's a Chargers team that, again, is still, I think, a couple years away. And I know what you're thinking, Justin Herbert's if man, he's 27. Still, he has not had a great roster. That should be coming shortly in Los Angeles. Not to say that the great roster isn't coming for the Patriots. 100%. The Patriots are just getting started. Drake May, very young. Travion Henderson, young as hell. This is Vrabel's first year in New England. The difference is, though, the Chargers barely got in the playoffs. I know, again, they've it's been clinched for them for quite a bit, but this is a team that won 11 games in the regular season. The Patriots won 14. Patriots are at home. There is now expectation for New England, and I'll say this, there's never expectation for the Chargers. They're the Chargers. They never win anything. They've always played second fiddle. They're second fiddle to the Rams. They don't really have fans. There's no expectation for Los Angeles to win this football game. There is a crap ton of expectation for the Patriots to get it done. And again, regardless of how you think about how the game script's going to go and who eventually wins the football game, I think Justin Herbert's going to scramble quite a bit. That's what he does in every single game because his offensive line isn't very good. He looks to extend plays. If there's nothing there, Herbert will take off, and he does do a good job protecting himself by getting down on the ground, sliding, diving, and avoiding hits, and obviously re-injuring that hand because the dude has been injured for, it feels like, months at this point. So I think eventually Herbert's going to find his way on the ground, and it's really not that many yards that we need. Again, we only need 29 yards, and the last three of his last 4 games, 66 yards, 42 yards, 37 yards. I think we can expect another big rushing day out of Justin Herbert. There are games where he is his own leading rusher, by the way. We know, again, you've got Amarion Hampton here, you got Kamani Vidal, but yet there are still games where Justin Herbert is the leading rusher for the Chargers, and that's absurd. Not like it matters too much, but Amarion Hampton may not play. We'll see. He's questionable. They don't know. The plan apparently is that he's going to play, and that doesn't really matter because regardless if it's Vidal or Hampton or both, doesn't really affect how Herbert's going to run the football. There are very rare spots where Harbaugh is going to give designed runs to just Justin Herbert. A lot of his runs are just him taking off, and that's okay. So give me the over on the scrambles, essentially, for Justin Herbert. I'm taking over 28.5 rushing yards for Justin Herbert on the road in Foxborough against Vrabel's defense over with the New England Patriots. Moving on now to our final best bet of the video, and I understand, again, this one is, you'll see. DK Metcalf, anytime touchdown, plus 220. I know, again, it's tough to predict anytime touchdowns. We have not done it much this season because, again, it's not the same as yards, right? Touchdowns, I mean, a guy, again, very odd example, but I mean, you can go, a running back can run for 98 yards and you get down to the goal line and they hand it off to, I don't know, or here's a better example. Bucky Irving could run the ball 98 yards and then at the goal line, Todd Bowles would give it to Sean Tucker, right? Like, and touchdowns are hard to predict, but in a spot like this, and I understand there's going to be a tough matchup on DK Metcalf. I know what the Houston defense brings. I know Derek Stingley is likely going to be on DK all game long. I think he's going to get a goal line shot here. I think we're going to see a goal line fade to DK Metcalf at some point in this game, and I think he's going to score a touchdown. I understand DK only scored 6 all year long. He most recently scored in that Miami game on Monday Night Football. Prior to that, Metcalf hadn't scored since the Green Bay game back in October, right? Touchdowns have been, they haven't been frequent for DK Metcalf, right? He had a 4 game, so to start the year, didn't have a touchdown against the Jets, but then a touchdown against Seattle, touchdown against New England, touchdown against Minnesota, and touchdown against Cleveland in 4 straight games. And then to close out the year, he had 1 touchdown in the last 8 weeks. And I understand, right, DK Metcalf did not play the last 2 weeks of the season, which I think is going to make a massive difference in this game because, hell, Rodgers was able to win on Sunday night against the Ravens without DK Metcalf. He was throwing the ball to Calvin Austin, Adam Thielen, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek, and those guys, right? It's going to be much different when you get an actual elite receiver on the field, who I know Metcalf did not break 1,000 yards this year, but still, the talent is undeniable, and I gotta believe Pittsburgh is going to look to Metcalf quite often this game because, well, they didn't have him for the last 2 weeks because he punched a fan in Detroit. Now, if you don't like the anytime touchdown, you can take the yards for Metcalf as well. I don't think it's a horrible line. I need to get it to be exact, but I just have a feeling he's going to get in the end zone. And I know, again, plus 220 is not the best line to take. So, again, the pure yards on DK Metcalf is 56.5. I'm just thinking goal line fade because we're watching these Pittsburgh games and multiple times they've gotten to the goal line. You saw it in the Cleveland game. Hell, at the end of the game where we're watching Aaron Rodgers throw back corner fades on the goal line to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who I forgot to mention earlier as part of this Pittsburgh receiving core. And we saw it as well in the Baltimore game. Hell, at the end of the first half, they don't have a play. I mean, they're going to Kenneth Gainwell on a run away from the strength. They're going weak side run to Kenneth Gainwell on, a first and goal from the 1 as time's expiring in the first half. They just don't have play calls at the goal line. And I know, again, you got the Haywards, the brother sneak, however the hell they want to call it. I know they have the tush push with the tight end or the fullback, but they have DK Metcalf back this week. And I'm telling you again, so much of Pittsburgh's struggles on the goal line has come because DK Metcalf's on the field. And regardless if that's DK getting the ball or not, again, that just the all-around presence of Metcalf on the field, it makes them a lot more dangerous. And I got to think, again, they're going to go to Metcalf at the goal line at some point in this game. I'm not too concerned about the Houston defense. I've been over this quite a bit. The Texans have never won a road playoff game in franchise history, and I understand the franchise has only been around now for 24 years, but they still are yet to go on the road and win one. I think they're like 0 for 6 on the road in playoff games. All of their wins in the postseason have come at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. And again, I'm very adamant on the fact I don't think they can win up in the cold in Pittsburgh. It's not like they're going to Los Angeles and playing in a dome. It's not like they're going to Jacksonville or Miami in sunny Florida. No, they're going to Pittsburgh in the cold at 8 o'clock at night in Pennsylvania. I don't think that goes well for them. And I think Rodgers' experience is going to take the Steelers a long way. But again, the re-addition of DK Metcalf makes all the difference now that Rodgers isn't throwing the ball to just Kenneth Gainwell, just throwing the ball to a, Pat Freiermuth, who's been good this season. But there are just more weapons for Aaron Rodgers, which makes him even more dangerous, even though he's 42 years of age. So I think at some point in this game, Metcalf will score. He's going to get into the end zone en route, I believe, to a Pittsburgh Steelers victory as they're going to move on to the second round of the postseason. In my opinion, likely going to Jacksonville. Yes, I think the Chargers are probably going to get the Patriots, upsetting them, and then we'll get Pittsburgh going to Jacksonville in the second round, with Los Angeles going to Denver, obviously, for the 1-7 matchup, a game we just saw 2 weeks ago. But to close the video, yes, I'm going to go with DK Metcalf anytime touchdown. That is currently listed at plus 220. I mean, any player on the field, anytime touchdown are crazy odds. You get plus 145. The most likely touchdown scorer is Nico Collins, again at plus 145. Then Woody Marks at plus 195. Gainwell plus 210. Metcalf at plus 220. Schultz plus 230. Jalen Warren at plus 240. And everything else is at plus 380 and above, starting with Pat Freiermuth. Again, supposed to be a defensive game, and you'd think that's probably going to favor Houston. I'm telling you, in the cold, in an AFC North matchup, that favors Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So give me DK Metcalf anytime touchdown at plus 220. Folks, thank y'all for watching our best player props, our final purely best player props video for the 2025-2026 NFL season. We'll be back again next week for our best bets. That's going to include player props as well, so make sure to join us for that. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more, and Mamba forever.